Hello Nyy'xai Planet Earth, this is Nyy'xai Coach. This episode is on Nyy'xai spirit forms. There's a lot to spirit forms. You should watch videos that are out there already because it's a very complex concept. But just a general way of looking at it is spirit forms can be thought of anything that affects you. It's a part of natural law. It affects the universe you're in, the environment, your inner workings, but you don't either understand it, don't see it, or can't touch it. There are universal spirit forms that we all are being affected by, and there's actually personal spirit forms that you have. And so right now we're going to talk about some personal spirit forms. As a Nyy'xai, as a mojo, you have what we call pod power spirit forms, but as a Nyy'xai, they'll be unique to you. You're going to have pod power spirit forms that relate to your Nyy'xai'zyy'vai'nai'xyy'zai'vy. Then you're also going to have what we call the elevator of enlightenment spirit forms. And that involves what you think of as you, consciously, and then autonomous entities that exist in your psyche unconsciously. And all humans have that, but they'll be unique to you being a Nyy'xai. Finally, this relates to the elevator enlightenment and other things as well. We have what's called the ritual ladder. And these are basically kinds of rituals that humans have to go through to develop themselves and just come up through the general life experience of being a heroic human. Again, as a Nyy'xai, these rituals, they will be universal rituals that all humans must experience, but they'll be different for you because of your powers. What is momentum for you? What is modulation? That will affect what the variables are of that ritual that will make it unique for you. Let's start off with pod power spirit forms. You as a Nyy'xai, you have up here, we talked about the Possibility Gatherer character. That's a bit general though, because that really refers to having Nyi consciously. So all of the Nyi users, every single one, including those who modulate, have a Possibility Gatherer character. So there's really 8 of them. So there's 8 mojo designs that have Nyi consciously. There are 8 Possibility Gatherers. Yours is unique. You have a special one, and that's what we call the Spirit Force creature. The Spirit Force creature is the pod power spirit form specific for the Nyy'xai. There's a lot to this, and there'll be whole filmings on it, but the short version is that it is easier to use your Nyi when you imagine yourself as a character that is, made of it. And a Spirit Force creature is that. It's a person that is made of Nyi. It is native to using it. It is a creature that has it as its elemental power. Next for the Nyy'xai, you have back here the Healing Tower, but it's specific for you. It's going to be the Hidden Grove Guardian. That relates to Xai being the second power. It's a momentum power, but it's in that unique position. That makes it a Hidden Grove Guardian, a special form of Healing Tower. Next up here we have Z. That is going to be your Logic Pilot. Your specific form of Logic Pilot is the Righteous Intervenor. And finally over here we have Vi, which is your Fact Hunter, and for you that's going to be the High Stakes Priestess. So it's a very particular form, it's a polar form of that power, but it's very, very powerful when it's used. So here we go, you ready? It's going to be Spirit Force Creature, Hidden Grove Guardian, Righteous Intervenor, and then High Stakes Priest or Priestess. Next we'll get into the elevator spirit forms. First up you have what's called the Apparatus. The Apparatus is what you think of as you. So for every human they have that. Now you as a Nyy'xai, that's going to be made up of primarily your conscious understanding, your conscious power. So that's going to be Nyy'xai'zyy'vai'nai'xyy'zai'vy, and it's going to be what you know. So it's going to be those 4 powers and more of Nyi and Xai. So your whole phenomena, your whole psyche, all the spirit forms that are within you, that is what you are. When you think of like me, that's actually the conscious portions you have of Nyy'xai'zyy'vai'nai'xyy'zai'vy. That is you, and we say the apparatus, that's what we mean. The apparatus is the conscious portions of your Nyy'xai'zyy'vai'nai'xyy'zai'vy. Now the apparatus interacts with the world, it thinks to itself, and actually goes in and also communicates with the unconscious spirit forms. So it's the one that actually is both the intermediary going out to the world and in. The Mah'zute spirit form is what you think of consciously. It's not you directly, but it's the you show to the world. So there's always going to be a difference between what you know of yourself, totally, consciously, and what you're going to show to the world. So for the Nyy'xai, that's going to have a lot to do, for example, with the SS index and other things that relate to their bubble and how their powers are interpreted by the world. Because there is what would be most natively good for your peak pathway, and then there are the various workarounds and things you've done in your life to make a place for yourself. Those workarounds, those adjustments, those ways of doing things that help make a place for your peak pathway, That's your Mah'zute. And your Mah'zute is very important. It's not meant to just disguise your true self. It's meant to be a conduit for you to the world. But you and the world have to have a negotiation. And that Mah'zute that you form is that negotiation, that compromise between what you see of yourself and then how the world interacts with you. Next is the Dar'yu. The Dar'yu has to do with things that are kind of like emergency programming. They're difficult stuff that you don't feel like dealing with, and therefore it's in the unconscious. The Dar'yu is the first unconscious spirit form. As a Nyy'xai, it's going to deal with your modulation powers the most. So when you talk about Z and Vi, and also your super modulators of Zai and Vi, those powers, when those kinds of things come up, your Dar'yu deals with a lot of that you are not able to. But the more you're able to deal with it and take it on yourself, the less that the Dar'yu has to do for you, and you are able to not be possessed by it. All these spirit forms could actually possess you if you don't take control of it. So, for example, a Nyy'xai that is either not doing their modulation powers at all, they're neglecting them, or they're overdoing them to the point where they've given themselves over the modulation powers. That's going to make the Dar'yu have too much influence. The proper influence is when you're actually using things like discomfort, keening, for example, to teach you, to help you go to the smart places. So the Dar'yu is a good teacher, but it teaches you when you are going places that are not good for you. So it's about emergency, it's about warning, it's about keeping you from danger, and once you get into danger, it's to get you out of it. Next is the Other. This is your metaphysical lover, your unconscious genius, your muse, and that's going to be the 4 powers that you don't have. It'll actually come across more like a creature, a being. It could also be travel, adventure, things like that. But it'll be comprised, since you're a Nyy'xai, of Nyi, Zhi, Zai, and Vi. The one you'll recognize most right away will be the Nyi and the Zhi, because those are inspiring to your top 2 powers. So in your psyche, in the unconscious, whenever the Nyi and Zhi are stimulated, it's going to give you this connection to your other, to your metaphysical lover. That's how you make love to your other half. It's through communing in a way that it understands. And in the unconscious, it won't understand technical stuff. It will understand being spoken to in a spiritual way, an artistic way, in a personified way. Finally, we have the Fu'masta. That's when you are in your master form, and it's something you're always trying to aspire to be, and to be more and more and better. You can never fully arrive there. You're always in the process of arriving into the Fu'masta. As a Nyy'xai, this is going to relate to your composition relationships. So for you, that's when your Nyi and your Vi actually are one. And that's a very high level thing for you. And also your Zhai and your Zai, and so forth, where all the priorities, both your powers, the conscious and unconscious, they're working together in unity, in productive harmony, and it's being done in the storyline that favors you. And that's how it's supposed to go. But it's something that works when you have all the cylinders, all the powers going. So it takes a masterful usage, but you were built to do it. That's the entire purpose for you, really. Well, not the entire purpose. That would be to merge with your shiny baby. So as a Nyy'xai, you have a complete Nyy'xai package of perfection, purity, totally complete, that you can kind of merge with and reboot yourself whenever you need to. So you can never lose your Nyy'xai-ness. No matter what the world has done to you or things you've done yourself and got confused, you can always reboot your Nyy'xai nature, your Nyy'xai spirit, because you have the shiny baby that will take you back into its womb, and you go back out all pure and loved. The other spirit forms you get into more later, but briefly you have the Tribe of Humanity, and that relates to all mojos, but you are a Nyy'xai within the Tribe of Humanity. And then you have Gaia, the spirit of the earth and its biospheres, and that's very, very important to all mojos. But as a Nyy'xai, you're going to have a special relationship to Gaia because you're going to know it through Nyi and Zhai, which is a very spiritual way of knowing something. Then you have Cosmos, the entire universe and beyond that made us, and then you have energy evolving that is before the Big Bang, after the Big Bang, everything in between, and so forth. And you as a Nyy'xai, you are part of this. You are one with the great energy evolving. Know yourself, grow yourself, save the world, and you will definitely need spirit forms to do all those.